doing little videos and checking out beaches and shorelines and woods and whatnot, I thought it would be really interesting if I were to interview a family that owns an island. And I was very fortunate to have the three Bruff girls volunteer. Obviously, I asked, and they said, sure, let's do this. So we sat down on the front of, I guess just out the front of one of their three buildings on the island, on the stones, and just had a little conversation. These folks have a tremendous commitment to Georgian Bay. It's, I've been going to Gun Island or going past Gun Island for 46 years. And it was great to finally walk on Gun Island. Okay, so I finally made it to Indian Harbor. Got the painter all wrapped around the propeller. And finally got over to Gun Island. And I'm going to talk to three ladies who have some great history stories for us of how they got to Gun Island, how they stayed at Gun Island, how their family got here. So they're all just kind of hiding. So they're not going to run away. I hope they're not going to run away anyways. They might. Who knows? And we're going to start with the youngest.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Janet. So who are you?
My name is Janet Bruff.
I'm Julie Bruff Thompson.
And I'm Jane Bruff Chisholm.
Hey, there's a Chisholm at Thunder Beach.
Yep, Jeff Chisholm.
Jeff Chisholm.
In
Gord
Tamra.
built his place, my brother.
Cool.
47 outside corners on the build. Oh, we're doing this. Sorry.
That's no relation, but I know Jeff well.
Yeah, he's quite a guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So, what I'm most interested in doing is adding to my already crazy thing that I'm trying to put together for some kind of support for the land trust. Somewhere, somebody's got to find it entertaining, other than me. And I was thinking the other day that some of the family histories, in particular on the east side, as we were just saying, it's an awful lot more difficult for you folks to get to the cottage than it is for me. And it's got to be a hell of a lot easier now than it was 50 years ago.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
So how did people, not to say that you folks are 50 years old by any means, how did people get here 50 years ago?
Originally, my memory as a child was coming from Honey Harbor, and we would be picked up in a big Georgian Bay wooden boat by a family member or one of the drivers from King Bay, and we would make the trip from Honey Harbor to Wawatasi on, it would be a 25 mile trip in any given weather, but it didn't typically stop us. We came in sleet and rain and high waves and gorgeous weather, but the destination was worth the trip.
Like a big boat, like a water taxi kind of thing?
Like that. Back in the day, they were wooden boats, and they would hold a gang of people and all the supplies that you had, and you'd all pile into one boat, and
off you go.
Off you went.
And you're here for as long as you're here for?
Yes.
Or until somebody runs out of rum kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it was Canadian Club for our family.
Well, there you go. That makes a lot of sense in Ontario. Yeah, good old CC and water, and you got lots of water, right? So, dumb question. Were the boats from Norse Boatworks in Penetang, Eldrickson's?
We had one called the Fisherman that had a Kermath engine in it. I couldn't tell you the name of the actual hull, but Kermath. I
wonder who built it. There was a big boat builder in Honey Harbor as well.
Yeah, not familiar with them.
Yeah. I got really lucky and met this guy named Jan Eldrickson, and he and his wife started a boat building business before Grew was in Penetang. And the first boat that he built for the McNamara's. It was called Skipper, and it was a combination of a Lyman and his own design. And Skipper 2 is going to be in the water next year. It's kind of, that was
nice.
Would have been 1940, I guess, somewhere in that kind of.
So we started here in 42. Not on this particular island. We were here in 49.
So you squatters here now? Is that?
No, well, no, not exactly.
You have title to
Not
the island.
exactly.
Is
It
that
all,
the
It all
idea?
started because my grandfather knew of the Nesbitts and the Beatties, and they were good friends in the city. And my grandfather was a doctor, a surgeon, and they wanted to have a surgeon up in the area. And they asked him if he'd like to come and see the place, and he came up, and they gave him an island. It was crazy.
Wow.
For a buck.
For $1.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did he practice medicine up here?
He did. He helped a lot of the local people in the area, and he also helped bring in hydro to King Bay. And for that, he was given a honorary chief of the King Bay Village.
No kidding.
Yeah, we have a
See?
headdress over there. You'll have to take a picture of it.
Well, and you see, that's the kind of stuff that is interesting to everybody. Not,
Oh, it's
not just,
fascinating.
yeah.
I remember as a child going and seeing a authentic powwow. We were all there, where my grandmother and grandfather were made honorary people of the tribe, and they were given this incredible honor.
Isn't that slick?
And they have this incredible headdress that we still preserve forever.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, when did you stop using Honey Harbor and start using King Bay?
65, the road was built.
Yeah, 1965. So we, and there are great stories about us coming down the road in its infancy. Hadn't been paved, had just been basically,
Old dirt road, right?
yeah, a little dirt road, getting stuck and not being able to make it. So we'd have to turn all the way back and go back to Honey Harbor. So getting here was a bit of a mission to get
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
That's
And by 67, it was easier because we didn't have as many obstacles on the 12 Mile Bay Road. So,
that's it. Because the other side of King Bay is Moose Deer
Point.
thing, right? Which
Yeah.
a friend of mine goes in there and goes up towards Wreck Island. So when you're kids and you're stuck here, you have no wheels. What do you do?
It's fabulous. We caught frogs. We went swimming. Mom just
Lots of
shoot us out of the house, and we just
Get out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
get out. Everybody
Come back
was
when you're
outside.
hungry. That's
Yeah.
we got the same kind of treatment. Yeah. And in fact, I don't care if you're hungry. Don't come back. That's the kind of stuff we got. Yeah.
But every single day, the Penetang 88 came up and it stopped in Cogmachine, go home, and then the last stop was here in Wawatasi. And it was at 4:30 every day. So we'd be on a picnic with all our friends on various islands. And then we knew at 4:30 we had to get to the government dock to meet the 88 because the mail was being delivered, all our supplies.
Isn't that
All
fabulous?
food, milk,
Yeah.
pink popcorn.
Yeah.
Isn't that, yeah. And you see, that's a side of Georgian Bay that I never lived because certainly when we were little kids, Mom didn't have a car at the beach. There was between about 8 families. There was Mrs. Rowland had a Volkswagen. That was it. But
Yeah.
social activities for us as kids were very easy because the cottages are all 20 feet apart from each other.
Right.
So as teenagers, what did you do up here?
You can't
Don't
tell you
reveal.
everything.
I was just going to say, don't reveal everything. I'm not going to be looking for initials carved in trees somewhere.
I think
But
because in Wawatasi we don't have as big a community as the Go Home and Cog Machines.
right,
We would bring all our friends here, and so it was always a big party here, and we'd play frisbee golf, and we always had activities.
so it's always stuff on the go all the time.
Always,
yeah.
yes,
yeah.
Right.
But you also knew people in the
There were
that
right.
you
There were few families in Wawatasi, and it was just fortunate that all of the families had kids the same age. So after being at the 88 at 4:30 in the afternoon, we all go, okay, whose place are we coming to? And then we would gather that night and
Usually play cards.
play
Yeah,
cards.
that's interesting.
Play the
Where
name-
where was the government dock that the 88 put into?
It was over
Mhm.
by the original Alexander Island, just
Gotcha,
in the
okay.
big David Bay outside of King Bay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the cribs are still there. Nothing else you can see now. It's it's all gone.
I remember seeing the Penetang 88. That's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
God, I'm
Yeah.
old. Oh,
Yeah.
What year
man.
did it stop running?
Oh.
Well, it stopped, and then the Miss Midland came up for a while. But I think Miss Midland didn't come up this far; it just stopped
Yeah.
in Go Home.
I think once the road came in, it started to really develop.
Wouldn't be a purpose
Yeah.
for her to come this
Yeah,
far,
except that it still brought tourists up,
right?
and
Yeah,
we would
yeah.
entertain the tourists by jumping off the dock and pushing each other in, and it was fun for us,
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
for them. Everybody had a good time.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So originally on Gun Island, which I always thought Gun Island went way back. When I first met you a few weeks ago, Brooks was telling me that it ends just the other side of that back cottage.
Yes.
So for here, originally there was one building that you said is over
What we referred to
that
as the
way.
main house.
The main house, yes.
And Granny's cabin was here. And when my grandfather bought the island, he didn't even know that back house existed. When he got the deed, it was another house, and my grandmother said to him, "I think you bought the wrong place because there's another structure on it." And so he got an extra. He didn't even walk the island.
So how cool is that?
Fabulous.
Bonus, eh? Yeah.
Totally bonus.
So
Yeah.
when was this one put up?
This one when I was born. So.
All right, that's enough. You don't have to say it. Okay, so
At 19
not that many years ago.
No.
That's why it looks brand
Recently.
spanking new. Okay.
1959, and my grandfather told our mom and dad to go find somewhere on the island to build, and the living room was there as a cabin,
Right.
and then mom and dad added on the kitchen and 4 bedrooms.
Isn't that great, eh? Well,
So
so how many more generations are going to keep coming?
Let's hope a lot.
All
No
right.
grandchildren yet,
We're
but
on to the 4th generation now.
You can think of 1, 2, 3. I can't remember how many
11
generations.
there's 11 grandchildren.
All right, so there are
yeah.
11 grandchildren that are going to come and populate
Yeah.
and do and
yeah,
Keep
try
it going.
try
and the
to.
youngest is 17, and the eldest is 31, and none of them have had any children yet.
Well, I would mention some of the one that's 31 years old. Time's a wasting.
I know.
Holy cannoli.
No, tip-tap.
My daughter Fred was born when I was 25. It was my father sat down all his daughter-in-laws and had a talk with him and said, "You are wasting prime reproductive time." And within a year, 3 of the 4 of them had a bun in the oven.
Oh boy.
No kidding. He was so proud of himself. He thought he blamed himself. Well, thank you very much for your time. Okay, so just as a little afterthought to talking to the girls, their mother, Amy, passed along a little note to me through Janet, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Smurl's father, Smurl was their grandfather, Smurl Lawson, actually played in the very first Grey Cup game. I believe it was 1909 for the Varsity Blues. The story of their family coming to Georgian Bay actually goes back one more generation, and it's kind of like this. The great-grandfather was Joseph Lawson. As the story goes, a man in a horse and buggy had turned around on his lawn. Joseph asked him not to do that, at which he turned around and did it again. Joseph walked up to the buggy and slugged the guy, gave him a good old knuckle sandwich. Joseph's father thought he might need legal counsel, so contacted the law firm of B.B. Osler, where he was put in contact with Mr. Nesbitt, who became a great friend of Joseph's and Smurl's, and he was the one who invited them to Georgian Bay originally. So we got to be talking about prior to 1900.